Alright, engineer. Okay, so engineer. I am using Berserkers with Strength Runes on my engineer. This, and then full Berserker everything, and then pistol, shield. I have not upgraded these to, now that that actually helps, I might, but, and you can see I'm using Sigil of Strength on pistol. I find with the Strength Rune that's a little bit better than Force and accuracy. You could probably go like a 10% Sigil here and then put the Strength here for min-maxing, but that's fine. And then as far as stacking goes, stack Perception with the NG. The reason why Strength Runes is because you do a rotation, and hopefully I get this right. Hopefully you do a rotation that stacks might for your team. You can use 2 turrets, put them down, big old bomb. And stack might. I did that wrong. But in any event, you can get 12 stacks of might for your team. And the might lasts a pretty decent amount of time. The uptime matches almost the cooldown of the big old bomb. So you can, just as part of your DPS rotation, keep the might up for your party. And you keep the might up. So just as you're fighting the boss, you can always just keep your might up. But for the most part, you're going to, in between might stackings, you're going to want to stick to grenades. It's mostly a grenade build. The whole idea is to stack Vuln. So for traits, not much has changed. 66020. There is a, we'll go through the traits a little bit. Dodge bomb when you dodge. It's whatever. It's a little bit extra DPS if you have to dodge. I like shrapnel here. Some people run other stuff. Shrapnel will help stack bleeds. 15% chance isn't very high, but your grenades are multiple explosions, so you can get a pretty decent amount of grenade bleed going. Mines, whatever. Short fuse reduces the recharge on bombs and grenades. This is pretty key. There's actually another one, explosive powder, that deals an additional 10% damage from explosions. This is a really powerful trait. But I think overall the DPS boost from short fuse is better. It allows you to use your better grenades to a better effect, and it allows you to keep the DPS rotation and the might stacking up with the bomb kit. So as bad as it is to lose explosive powder, I think short fuse is better, and it will work out that way. And then the next trait, steel packed powder. Explosions cause vulnerability. Every one of your grenades is an explosion. Your F2 is an explosion. The big old bomb is an explosion, I believe. It will be the bread and butter of the NG build. You stack up a pretty significant amount of Vuln. You can keep 25 stacks of Vuln on trash mobs and about 15 stacks on bosses. So, and that is the primary reason anyone takes an NG for their group. The Vuln uptime. So steel packed powder is the way to go. And then Grenadier, it just makes your grenades actually good. If you don't have Grenadier, grenade kit isn't really that good of DPS, and you're better off just camping bomb kit. There is a where is it? No, it's not in that line. Okay, so firearms. Sharpshooter, critical hits have a chance to cause bleeding, 15%. Between shrapnel and sharpshooter, you can probably put up like 15 stacks of bleeds all by yourself, which actually stops being trivial, especially when you have 25 might. You're actually doing a pretty decent amount of damage on just your bleeds. And then I take Infused Precision here. You have a chance to gain swiftness on critical hits. This will basically allow you to keep up swiftness when you're in combat pretty much 100% of the time. That is important, as you'll see later. Target the weak. When the foe you're hitting goes down below 50%, you get an extra 10% boost. Always good. Free damage. Precise sights have a chance to cause Vuln on crit. More Vuln. This is partially why the NG is so strong at stacking Vuln, because they have significant ways to pile it on. And it counts independently, so this shrapnel grenade, 3 grenades. That counts as 3. All the grenade kits are 3. The bundle is 7, so you can get a pretty significant amount. Target the weak, 5% damage against bleeding foes. Can't go wrong with another damage modifier. And modified ammunition, 2% damage for each condition on the foe. Typically 6 to 8 conditions, especially with this build, since you're putting out poison, chill, vuln, bleeding, and I think there's other conditions that you can get with the build. But for the most part, it's a pretty big DPS increase. There is a new trait, Bunker Down, which I would discuss if I had it unlocked. But the interesting thing about Bunker Down is if you're not going to use the grenade kit, if you're just going to camp bombs and try to do max personal DPS, which is not terrible, Bunker Down is a pretty huge DPS increase for you. The difficulty, as I understand it, for Bunker Down drops a bomb or a little proximity mine that if the boss triggers it or the mob triggers it, explodes and does damage, yada yada yada. Well, if you're on top of the boss, the proximity detector, the little red circle that will go around the boss, won't touch him and it won't blow up. So you have to stand at a very particular spot to get Bunker Down to trigger. But if you do find the right distance to stand from the boss, and you can trigger Bunker Down every time, it's a pretty big DPS increase. The bomb auto attack is pretty decent as far as DPS goes, and when you combine it with Bunker Down, it is a huge DPS increase. So if you want to go full Berserker, Scholar Runes, and bomb kit camping, you're going to want to use Bunker Down instead of modified ammunition, and just find the perfect distance to stand from the boss, and it will kill him. The example I would say is, say the circle's like this. If the boss is in the middle and you're standing on him, the proximity mines are going to be in a circle around the boss and he'll never trigger it. But if you stand just a little bit off of him, the proximity mines will land on his circle and they'll go off. So that's where you would use Bunker Down. Pretty good trait for DPS. In Alchemy, I take Invigorating Speed. When you gain Swiftness, you gain Vigor. It combos very well with Infused Precision. The additional, it basically gives you Perma Vigor and Perma Swiftness in combat. I find the Vigor to be useful. You don't necessarily need it, but if you can survive without it, then you can take 10 out of the Alchemy and put 10 into Tools and take, where is it? Not Kit Refinement. Another one. I forget. Did they move that trait? In any event, you can either take Static Discharge or Kit Refinement. Wow, they really changed that. Anyway, I didn't even realize they changed that. So anyway, fuck Tools. Go Alchemy and just take Invigorating Speed. It is better. So that's it for NG. Not much has changed. The biggest change, again, for NG is Bunker Down. If you're just going to do a bomb kit build, I prefer grenades because the whole reason I think to take an NG is for the Vuln, and grenades do a better job of doing it. the so I don't really care for the bomb, but as someone asked, if your team is already hitting 25 might without you having to do the full grenade deal, then yes, switch to bunker down, sit in bombs, and do good DPS. And yes, I do want to stress again, I am using strength runes on my NG because you can keep up a decent amount of might. You can I did that bad again. But anyway, you can keep up 12 stacks of might on your party permanently. So that's pretty big. That's like half the might that your team needs. And if they're getting it from one character, they're doing a pretty good deal. So anyway, that's it for NG. Does anyone have any questions about NG before we move on? I imagine that most people aren't really super interested in NG, but yep. And you can see as my elite I use Bear Form, because I'm a Norn. And it's the best elite when you're a Norn. Just kill bosses like that. Super easy. Woohoo! Alright, moving on.